Okay, so imagine a crime scene, but there are no borders, no physical fingerprints, and the evidence? It can be wiped out with a single click. This is the world of digital crime, and today we're diving into the rulebook that tries to govern it all, the foundations of digital justice. This right here, this is the fundamental challenge facing law enforcement today. Think about it. When a crime happens online, the victim, the criminal, and the evidence could be scattered across a dozen different countries. It's a jurisdictional nightmare. So, where do you even begin?
And this quote from a Europol investigator? It really shows you just how high the stakes are. The evidence is fleeting, the criminals are like ghosts, and the clock is always, always ticking. In cases like this, getting justice isn't about some lucky break. It's about having a rock-solid, methodical process.
So, before you can even think about tackling a global crime, you need a local playbook. Every single digital investigation, no matter how big or small, starts with the same basic principles of handling evidence the right way. You get this part wrong, and the entire case can just fall apart. Let's be really clear here. Digital forensics is not just snooping around on a hard drive. It's a science. And that phrase, admissible in a court of law, that's everything. If every step you take isn't methodical, documented, and repeatable, a good defense lawyer can get that key piece of evidence thrown right out. And just like that, the case could be over.
See, without a structured process, all that digital evidence is just vulnerable. It can be corrupted or easily questioned in court. And that's exactly why investigators rely on established frameworks to create a secure, repeatable path for evidence. One of the most important ones comes from the U.S. National Institute of Standards and Technology, or NIST.
So the NIST framework lays out this really methodical approach in 4 logical phases. First, you collect the data, and you have to do it securely without changing a single bit. Then you examine it, finding the important pieces in a giant sea of information. Next, you analyze those pieces to build the story of what actually happened. And finally, you report your findings in a way that's going to stand up to serious scrutiny in court. It's basically a blueprint for digital justice.
But what happens when the computer isn't in your city, but the data is sitting on a server halfway around the world? Suddenly, a local playbook isn't enough. The world needed a common set of rules for a world without borders.
And the answer was the Budapest Convention on Cybercrime. This was a huge deal, spearheaded by the Council of Europe. It was the first big international treaty to try and get everyone's cybercrime laws on the same page. The goal was simple, but incredibly ambitious: create a common legal language so countries could finally fight digital crime together, across borders. And the impact of this treaty? It's been massive. As you can see, 81 countries have signed on. That means a huge part of the world has agreed to a common set of rules for handling digital evidence and helping each other out. It was a groundbreaking achievement for sure, but it was also designed for an internet that was about to change dramatically. Which brings us to the central conflict of our time. The old ways of doing things, the international cooperation built on diplomacy and respect for national borders, well, they're really struggling to keep up with the lightning speed of digital crime. Okay, so the traditional way of getting data from another country is through something called a Mutual Legal Assistance Treaty, or an MLAT. It's a super formal government-to-government request that literally crawls through diplomatic channels. It respects national borders, which is good, but it can take months, sometimes even years. And in a cybercrime investigation, that's an eternity. This slide really just lays it all out, the old versus the new. On the left, you've got the MLATs, slow, formal, government to government. But on the right, you have a newer and way more controversial model from the United States, the Cloud Act. This is a direct government-to-provider path. It's fast, it's efficient, and, this is the key part, it fundamentally bypasses foreign governments. And this right here, this is the part that changes everything. The Cloud Act allows U.S. law enforcement to compel a U.S.-based tech company, we're talking Google, Meta, Microsoft, to hand over data no matter where on the planet that data is physically stored. It's a direct order to the company, not a request to another country. So this is where that whole dilemma of speed versus sovereignty just explodes. Imagine a U.S. court orders a company to turn over data that's stored in, say, Germany. But Germany is in the EU, and their super strict GDPR privacy law says you can't do that. Suddenly, the company is caught between 2 conflicting legal orders from 2 different governments. This is the massive headache of trying to figure out which country's laws even apply when a crime is global.
So where does all this leave us? Well, we're stuck in this state of uneasy balance. You've got investigators trying to navigate a maze of competing laws, while criminals are happily exploiting all the gaps in between. And the future? It's only getting more complex.
I mean, just look at the hurdles investigators are facing today. Evidence can be deleted in an instant, encryption can make it impossible to read what criminals are saying, AI can even be used to create fake, misleading evidence. Now, add to that an absolutely overwhelming volume of data and a tangled web of international laws, and you start to see the real scale of the problem.
This quote from an officer on the front lines, it just says it all. The problem isn't getting easier, it's growing exponentially. The risk is that the traces criminals leave behind won't just be hard to find, they'll be actively designed to trick and mislead investigators.
So, in the end, there's no single elegant solution here. What we're left with is this patchwork of justice. You've got slow treaties stitched together with fast but controversial laws, all held together by the voluntary cooperation of big tech companies. It's a messy, imperfect system trying to apply the rule of law to a digital world that was pretty much designed to have none. And that leaves us with this huge, fundamental question for our digital age. As technology continues to outpace the law, who actually gets to write the rules? Is it national governments? Is it international bodies? Or is it the tech companies themselves, the ones who build the very infrastructure we all now rely on? The answer is going to define what justice looks like for the rest of the 21st century.